one more time. And
far?
so far we're correct. Yay, we got the bar.
But you know, we did not get the Lulu. We're not getting the bingo on this one.
Are we going to get a Braum? But you can't really first pick anything else. That's the problem for Fnatic because this Kindred still has a lot of value for you. Maybe after the last game.
Trundle ban.
Yes,
Okay.
Some adaptations here.
So now we're in a situation where it's like, okay, if we get the Thresh taken away, I don't think first picking Thresh is a particularly... I mean, when there's jungle picks available, that you give something stronger.
Braum is what we're looking at.
Yeah, but now Braum's banned out.
Oh, now it's banned.
G2. So now you either like take away the Thresh here, or you give it over to Hybrid. I was skeptical coming into Game 3 about Hybrid's Thresh, obviously with the support priority on you know, so many bans towards. I mean, Hybrid had a really good game. He was hitting hooks left, right, and center in the last game. But now, how important is it for Fnatic to look at that and go, well, we've got to get Klaj on something?
Oh, it's what G2 is doing. It's like, okay, either you're going to get your Kindred one more time, which is the preferred jungler right now, or you have to first pick a support.
Yeah.
If they take this, Hybrid's champion pool has been completely hit.
Yes.
What is he,
I mean, every support's champion pool has been completely hit now.
But like, this is the thing, is how much you're valuing that support first pick. They clearly enough to take that away.
But now G2 have the opportunity to look at what is going to be effective of the next tier. They can look at, do we need like a Morgana for a Black Shield? Do we need heals coming from somewhere else? Do we need disengage from a Janna? They're not in a rush now to pick it because the Thresh is gone. Everything is practically the C tier of supports that's left for Hybrid.
Ooh, I like this. We're just about to talk about Kikis not showing the Ekko just yet. Now he's pulling it out. And it was going to be important because it was banned in the last game, and we have seen that whoever plays the Ekko in the playoffs will have massive impact. So I think this is a good pick for Kikis, but I wonder if he can play it properly.
I do wonder about that. That is such a key factor because they strayed away from it in Game 2 of the series.
Yes.
And we were like, man, does this actually mean that Kikis cannot play the pick at all? Because that's worrying. We can see Trick has now taken away the jungler when it comes to the Kindred being picked up for G2, so we'll be able to farm himself up on that.
I mean, we're going to get the Ryze again, surely. Because they're once again giving Fnatic this Sivir Lissandra, which, again, so many teams value as one of the best combinations you can have between two champions in this current meta. They're giving it away one more time just to, again, secure a top lane matchup for Kikis, who did show up in the last game for sure.
Yep.
And then, of course, the best available jungler.
Now, what the analysts talked about was now we're in a situation where Nautilus is the generic kind of pick. Once you've got these four...
Give me Morgana here into Lissandra.
And that's what I was going to say, is normally the Nautilus is the one that they were talking about, but there are so many options now that you can basically pick whatever, and it's still a second tier, but Hybrid can find what he's comfortable on, and it seems like he wants the Janna.
And now you again have a very good 2v2 lane. Push, obviously, from Sivir on one side, but very strong trading on the other side from G2 if they lock in this Lucian, and you run this disengage, changing it up to Kalista. Still a strong laning phase coming for them, but you run this disengage now because you're playing against the Lissandra. So obviously that's what you get. That's what you get on the side of G2, and then we're expecting the Ryze to come in as the last pick, so even more protection for this backline, which we know can machine gun its way through almost anything.
But Fnatic have to know this is coming. They make their last pickups, and it's going to be the Graves jungle. Or possibly top, because we've also got the Gragas, which we have seen top lane.
Gragas top lane, calling it right now. Max W, get full cooldown reduction, then you just start bonking these tanks in the face with your % damage from the W.
You wizard Deficio, there's the Ryze. There it is.
Wow, who would have guessed the Ryze?
There it is. I think you're right, by the way, on the Gragas top lane. It's something we've started seeing more commonly now. It gives you a source of damage, gives you a source of crowd control, fairly tanky on its own right, gives you, you know, that little bit of a supplement when it comes to running something like a Graves jungle where you need extra crowd control.
But it is a little bit of a weird pick because he's not the best at really anything up in the top lane. He's the pick you go for into tanks if you don't have a Trundle available, on Ekko available.
Yeah.
And then you kind of say, okay, fine, what's maybe number 3 and number 4?
I'm going to anger some people here, Deficio. I've got a grin on my face as I say this. You know, European Challenger had a lot of Gragas top before other regions were doing it. Sartorius was playing it all the way back in like week 1. I'm not going to take all the credit. It's seen a lot of popularity.
Why would you take
all the way
credit?
around? Well, Sartorius can take the credit.
Fine.
Wow, okay. Sorry.
I'm trying to steal the spotlight here,
Stress. People, Deficio. I want people mad at me.
You got to live by the coach's example, shaking hands, as you can see on that stage. Come on, guys. I'm
not touching those hands.
All right, fine. All right. Well, Fnatic are still only 1 win on the board. G2 are on match point here. Can they take the victory and lock it up, secure their final spot in their first split in the European LCS? Let us know if you think so. Hashtag G2 win. Or will the Fnatic faithful be proven correct? And will we go all the way to a 5-game series? We're about to find out as we hit the Rift.
And more changes in the pick and ban phase. Every single game we've seen some changes, some new bans maybe coming in. Lulu is still being banned by Fnatic, so whatever G2 has been doing in scrims on that champion must have been very, very scary. I would rather see PerkZ play Lulu than Ryze.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
And the funniest thing is if you give PerkZ that Lulu... By the way, I love what the crowd do now at the beginning of Fnatic and Origin games. We need it coming out of more. I don't think it's quite as effective to go G2. Yeah, we got it.
Ah, Febiven. Gentleman's agreement.
But the interesting thing with PerkZ specifically in the Lulu and the Ryze matchup was he actually got solo killed as Lulu from Betsy's Ryze all the way back in week 1. So, I mean, PerkZ has shown in situations his Lulu just isn't quite as effective. It's actually statistically, when you look at his performance in lane, his weakest champion.
They keep on banning it away, and now PerkZ has had a serious game on Ryze after one that didn't quite get so far. Game number 3 for him on it. As we look to settle in, maybe not for standard lanes, with the AD carry and support duo Fnatic backing.
So they're heading top side here. Not because they couldn't take the 2v2 lane bot lane and just play the pushing game, basically. Gamsu on this Gragas here. You do have a decent early start to the laning phase. But again, it's much like the other tanks. You want your Iceborne Gauntlet, you want your Sunfire, you want a Spirit Visage, because you're into double AP on the side. Or actually on both sides, technically. More important for Fnatic, with Ryze and Ekko being there.
Another thing that the Gragas, especially once you have a little bit of damage, is pretty good for is the ability to defend against dives, that kind of thing. Always, not only is his ult good, you've got to go through the cask as well, the body slam to get himself away. So he has a few more tools than a lot of the tanks do, very much like Ekko does.
Speaking of Ekko, a little interesting up on the top side. Rekkles in a 1v1 versus Kikis. Had to pop his heal already.
So Kikis actually went straight to the lane and just sat in the bush and waited at first. And then as soon as he saw Klaj invade alone on Trick, he's like, oh, it's a 1v1 up top now. So he gets a trade, gets the heal. Heal won't really be that important because it's a lane swap anyway. But more importantly, he gets a lot of experience just sitting in the bush waiting for himself. Just clicking on him. He's almost level 2 just from sitting there and soaking up some experience. Gamsu's now coming up. Obviously, hasn't been getting as much from doing the double jump.
And there's something I want to talk about with the Keystone Masteries there. You saw the Thunderlords on Thresh. This is something Kasing did from Vitality last week in their series against Fnatic. One of the reasons that you do this is if you're looking to early gank that mid lane. This is specifically what Vitality did and tried to put the pressure down onto Febiven. You have that extra damage for that gank potential. Klaj isn't running Ignite, so it's not quite as potent as you would expect, and didn't go immediately to that middle lane either. He was in the jungle trading with Trick, but you've always got to watch for that now. The early game damage that's going to come from that from Klaj is actually fairly significant.
But Fnatic is very far behind on this early push, because obviously, again, they got a bit delayed on top side. Kikis got to clear out almost the entire wave when he was sitting and waiting in the bush and had that early trade. So that obviously removed an entire wave for Fnatic, while on bottom side it was just slowly being built up by G2. Have taken down tower now. Got to see how long it takes for Fnatic. Gonna be at least 10 seconds delayed on this one, and obviously meaning that the early recall happening is much faster for Emperor and Hybrid. If you look at your minimap, you can see them already at the inhib, while Rekkles and Klaj are just running now from the fountain. So the Gragas will not be able to sit and get a lot of farm. At this point, you almost have to just try and push whatever you can. Just get like a few CS under your belt, and then you're going to get forced off. Ekko is fantastic at sitting bottom side and pushing out that wave. Again, clearing another wave that once again reduces the amount of minions you have when you group them up and get to the first tower. Ekko with the range wave clear. He's going to take care of that.
It has been difficult for Rekkles to just try and take that one-on-one with Cole to try and catch back up on some of that farm that he wasn't able to get. He is ahead of his counterparts. Emperor's been running around.
Here's the mid roam.
And that's going to be everyone on PerkZ. Quick flash away. Play back from Klaj. They might have him here as they yank him in. And the gank comes up with first blood. Kikis late to the party, late to react. Exhaust on him, but he will jump, and so will Spirit, following right on forward. Another one from Febiven. They're committing so heavy, and Spirit gets another.
This is such a nice play out by Fnatic. It's an adaptation. As you could see, Rekkles was safe to farm in the bottom lane, so Klaj had all the time in the world. And what they did there was Febiven had a very specific recall, which would bait PerkZ into doing exactly the same. Otherwise, PerkZ loses too much on farm. So as soon as PerkZ recalls and teleports back into the lane, they come in with the Thresh. There's no ward to spot them with the jungler as well and pick off PerkZ.
Let's just think back to game 1. Fnatic made almost the same play where once they have swapped after killing the first tower, they sent their support mid lane. They obviously have the jungler joining in as well, but if PerkZ had known that, if he actually thought about that from game 1, he would have TP'd to his tower instead of to the minion. And this dive would suddenly, or this gank would suddenly not have worked for Fnatic. But he's obviously not even thinking about it, doesn't respect the fact they can be there. TP's in, dives for it, 2 kills now for Fnatic, great start. They are still behind in the swap, but they're now picking up 2 kills instead. If you look on the bottom side, it's actually probably going to even out by now. And then Fnatic gains almost everything from this, because you can see they've already recalled their dual lane. They're actually now faster. So not only do they get more tempo, they get 2 kills in mid lane, and it's going to be even further delayed by G2 trying to take this Rift Herald. Things are looking fantastic for Fnatic all of a sudden.
Yeah, and the backs are against the wall. Down on match point in this series, try and answer back at themselves the lead. We saw what they were able to pull out in game number 2. Just to come up with that victory. Spirit will find the scene of the crime. And Trick is still hanging around, actually. That's a quick flash away, just delaying on the back, and now Gamsu chasing out Hybrid.
Just, I think, didn't quite have the mana. It looked like it just came up just after he flashed to jump over that wall. Trick was like, oh, well, I'm just getting out of here. Doesn't matter what I used to do it. But Flash now not being available on a lot of members here from G2.
But G2 has to go defend now, because again, they're so far behind in the lane swap. That means you are forced to go topside with your AD carry support. You can see Hybrid is on his way right now. You can catch some farm with it, but the problem is when you are defending, you do not get any access to the enemy jungle, because obviously you are sitting at your own tier 2 tower right now. Fnatic gets in a few wards, quickly gets cleared away by G2. And then we're probably going to see just the map reset.
Yeah. And once we then see Fnatic put the deep vision down again from having this earlier game pressure, that's when this Lissandra, the Sivir, can actually take hold. Unlike the last game where Fnatic maybe took a couple bad fights, they've taken good fights to begin with, and generally with this kind of composition, Fnatic should be able to consistently have the vision control to decide when to fight.
And we're probably going to see Fnatic just try and go mid, push it out, and then decide which lane do we want to go to. Do you want to go on bottom side, secure dragon control, and push in that lane against the Ekko, or do you want to go and match the push on there that G2 is doing on top side? Ryze, again, with his wave clear. It's very risky for him to do it when you're on the tower, so this is a really good move by Fnatic. And now PerkZ getting caught.
Febiven, yeah, they look for PerkZ again. We've seen this movie before. How's it gonna end? PerkZ just falling, and Rekkles claiming the kill for that one. Kikis too late to the party. Lambser spites up. Hybrid, though, comes in the back, and he kills Klaj with a Howling Gale, and now Fnatic in full retreat path on this one. 1 for 1, but they did manage to get the mid laner. Febiven, he's going 2 down, and that's Trick coming up big with that one. Fnatic aren't done with this fight yet, but they don't have enough damage to do anything else. Chasing Kikis is Gamsu and Spirit, but juked by the Chrono Break.
One difficulty, though, in this entire situation for Fnatic is that Gamsu is under-leveled fairly severely against Kikis. Kikis is now level 6, didn't have his ult for the beginning of that fight, actually got it halfway through, but Gamsu didn't have his ult to disengage in the same respect, and it meant that Fnatic, after committing so heavily, were slightly punished by G2 coming into the fight. They were able to group and compensate a bit for the deep dive.
And this dive here, it's very, very aggressive by Fnatic, but it's because they have so many members, they feel confident doing it. Gamsu probably misclicks right here on the Lantern. Klaj just want to get an assist, pulls out Gamsu, so delays the kill a little bit on PerkZ, buys more time for G2 to come in and defend. And now you're diving between 2 towers very early on in the game. Normally, we would just have seen a play where you go mid, you push it into tower, get the damage you can, and then you move out to side lanes. You don't go for the dive. And we see G2 in the end punish them, pick up quite some kills. And the reason Gamsu is so under-leveled was because after he took the bot lane tower, he actually pushed out the wave one more time. But then his team was already playing on top side, so he couldn't do anything. He was like, all right, I have nowhere to go now. I pushed the lane into Kikis, who's just sitting and farming and slow pushing out, and therefore Gamsu is really far behind. Became a problem in this fight, and also the trolling Lantern pulling him straight out again.
Yeah, on the other hand, Fnatic have compensated a little bit for that, and the farm department in mid lane Febiven has a pretty sizable lead over PerkZ, but to be fair, he spent a lot of time dead.
Yeah, and not only dead, he spent a lot of time not being by his minion wave. He's like, well, they're going to dive me again, so maybe I need to stand further back.
And that's actually there even with the 2 kills for G2 just picked up. If we consider that the main objective for Fnatic, looking at how it went last game, is actually to shut down Ryze, I guess they're fine saying, you know what, we are fine trading an extra kill by just denying PerkZ even more. So even though they lost 2 guys, by taking down PerkZ, it's enough value for Fnatic. And as you guys talked about, he's down a level, he's down 20-30 CS as well. Pretty easy math, he's actually 30 CS, so not sure why I said 20, but
Yeah, it's all right.
Whole goal is to make him go into next game with the reduced death timers runes.
maybe not.
The one time you actually build him.
The thing is, PerkZ actually has one of the 2 rune setups that you see on a Ryze. He actually is running the movement speed quints. You'll either see movement speed quints, which PerkZ has chosen to do, or Faker, who just goes, screw movement speed, I'll just take flat AP and I'll kill you with it faster. That's why it makes it so difficult for PerkZ to run away, from people to run away from PerkZ.
Sure, yeah, obviously with the extra movement speed from his ulti, it is great. Oh, Hybrid getting caught.
Walked right into that one, and Klaj right out of nowhere. But that is going to be the quick fates call from Emperor to save his life. Defensively used, though. Now they have the timer.
I've seen a 3rd setup. Almost full magic penetration from Smep.
Oh, okay.
Obviously it was top lane Ryze into some of these tanks, so it makes a lot of sense. You know, they're stacking early MR, and he's getting the magic penetration from his rune. So they're different sets you can go for, also different keystones. Thunderlord, Storm Raider, Surge, and Strength of the Ages are all options.
Storm Raiders is ridiculous.
It is. Like, again, that's fantastic extra utility when you're chasing towards people. Spirit!
Oh, Spirit! Is he getting the lantern out? Yes, he does. But in comes Kikis around the backside, finds the Time Winder, does pop the spell shield of Rekkles, and dodges out from the death sentence as well. It's going to buy G2 enough time to get themselves the Rift Herald without any contested from Fnatic.
G2 are running a very familiar composition. If you were watching yesterday's North American semifinals, Liquid and CLG were both running variants of this Ekko Ryze duo. I mean, it is pretty much tip-top of the meta as it is, but specifically like both of them in the same comp with a Kindred. And a Janna support, something we don't see that often here in Europe. So
many support bans, right?
Yeah, certainly is a very different flavor, but Trick got himself the Kindred this time. Obviously, the focus was put on the support even more heavily than we've seen before, and forced Fnatic to put Klaj on this Thresh.
Well, this is such an interesting matchup, too, because when we talk about G2 and Fnatic and the similarities in playstyles and how each lane stacks up, one of the nonetheless interesting but less talked about matchups is those supports, because Klaj came in halfway through the split, remember, but then picked up all those games and all that experience with Fnatic at IEM. But then only in the playoffs have we really seen him come into his own, whereas Hybrid has been rock solid all split long.
Yeah, Hybrid definitely been one of the better rookies coming into this, and his Braum play has been absolutely fantastic for G2, and exactly the way they wanted to play. So many early fights, get into team fights very quickly, and that's why he performed so well. Obviously, very different style. Now he's playing the Janna, not sitting in a
We haven't seen it from him before. I mean, it's nice
again,
variety.
We have so many support bans, so we get some of these new supports coming out. I'm just happy there's no Soraka yet. We don't want to see that one.
It's in
well, I know Stress hates fruit, but do you not like bananas, Deficio? Oh, well, we'll talk about that later. PerkZ is caught, but he does manage to flash away. Teleport coming in on this one. Spirit still wants to take the fight. He fancies it, but Febiven wasn't getting involved fast enough. Klaj, they're just trying to buy some time for the 2v3, but is it going to be enough here? Lantern out and switcheroo, but the rest of G2 are right there, and Febiven is going to get punished. Exhaust is down. Flash from the rest of Fnatic, and they are on the hunt. Not going to be deterred there. Trick gets Spirit in the back of it all. 2 Fnatic members dead, and the chase is still continuing. A lot of damage from this G2 squad, and they're not done. Monsoon, or not Monsoon.
A little bit too aggressive, Hybrid.
Yep.
Everything else was good here by G2. PerkZ bought enough time kiting around for a teleport to come in. Very surprised Gamsu came in so late. I didn't even get to see where he teleported to, but he just joined in after the first engage was over, and it was actually Fnatic setting up the play. I'm not sure if they were expecting to just one-shot with the Graves Lissandra, just one-shot that Ryze straight away. Gamsu then TPs in late after rest of G2 comes down, except for Emperor, who didn't even join the fight. Let's see again.
You're going to see now.
Fight starts. I think Fnatic are like, okay, we can actually burst him down with 2. But then TP comes in from Kikis, and where's Gamsu coming?
Gamsu?
Oh, he has a ward down here. Okay. So he joins in very late for the fight itself.
And they run away from him.
Simply too late teleport, and then suddenly Fnatic have used everything. Both AD carries haven't even joined yet.
Yeah, and it's just the way this fight maneuvered and swapped sides a couple of times there. Just the chaos is such a good factor for G2 in this kind of setup because Kikis, as long as you can keep track of that clone, he got a good ult that shouldn't really have happened as Febiven was trying to kite back down onto his side of the map. And in comes the parallel convergence after the flash Janna Q. The most aggressive of plays.
You don't have to make big plays on Janna.
No. At least Hybrid had the sense to take exhaust. So,
sure.
Ignite
certain
Janna.
analysts will not be tilted. Yes.
Double exhaust this game.
Yeah,
We
I
got
don't know.
it.
After this series, I don't know what to expect anymore.
Well, I definitely.
Then
When you play against the Ryze, you pick exhaust. Simple.
when you play with the Ryze.
You also pick exhaust because you play Janna.
Exactly.
It's that simple. But we actually talked about the keystones before.
We
don't
go.
even want to talk keystones because now we get another fight in bot lane. And
They
this
wanna keep
time,
bullying him.
he won't get away this time.
There goes the Frozen Tomb and the blowback. Big ult from Spirit. PerkZ just trying to buy some time. He does get bit damage on Febiven, that's it.
So it's all fun with all the fights and small ganks against each
That's a
other.
quick flash.
Right here, and this is something G2 has done before in this split. They kind of forget how to play macro. Randomly, PerkZ is just pushing bot lane with zero help.
Trick. Yeah, Lambs just bites on, but the rest of Fnatic are already in it. Klaj trying to bring people into this fight. Kikis will get Klaj on the back.
Trick
He's
survived.
actually able to walk this out. Gamsu is going to have to belly dash away. Now it's going to be Hybrid chasing him down with Emperor and Kikis. This will be a slow one for the Fat Man if he can even make it out of here. The rest of Fnatic are leaving him for dead.
He's dead. He is completely dead on this one.
This effort.
Trick.
Trying the fancy footwork.
So he's going to give the kill to PerkZ. It's not
PerkZ
good.
is-
Turn around, guys. Turn around.
Oh,
the
it's
worst
too late.
timeline.
Oh, no! The Ryze! Rune prison for Gamsu. And they will wear through that health bar. Not that a
Slowly.
fight he goes down, though. Oh, man.
Well, it's gonna happen, guys.
Yeah, the damage is a little bit different this game from PerkZ because he's obviously behind compared to the other one where he got
helps,
two
though.
early kills. This helps him. So, let's see what happens here. Trick gets engaged on by Gamsu, but has the ulti from Kindred obviously, and the rest of G2 coming in. Look at your minimap. Febiven isn't here. He has no teleports. It's a 4v4. And he stays alive. The Kindred. And Kikis had a great timing on his Q there with their Ekko just finishing right after Kindred ulti. Also a small thing when you have Kalista and Kindred. You want these long fights where, oh, you're not dying yet, but once you get out of this Kindred ulti, I have like 3-4 stacks on you, and I'm gonna run and gonna kill you.
Yep.
But PerkZ, yeah, again, the damage is not exactly the same. Also, Gragas is very tanky.
I mean, there's actually a very deceptive setup here when the Kindred ult is down, because not only have you got Hurricane on Kindred, you've got the Kalista that you're talking about can do the same thing. Kikis puts parallel convergence on top of it, and the Ryze just stands there, and suddenly you get a multi-person stun, and you have a Ryze in an enclosed space. That's like the perfect team fight for G2, is that like Kindred drops low, ult, or somebody drops low, Kindred ult comes out, and they just annihilate everybody on the spot. Fnatic have to be aware of that and just fall back out of the Kindred ult, or at least out of the damage range before that starts to happen.
All said and done, Fnatic are still pretty even in the gold department, and they're even up a tower right now. But they have got to be careful. They can't take too many more of those. Now Trick moving into the Fnatic side. Jungle gets spotted on that ward and might give away the game that they're looking to try and squeeze out this mid lane turret. But 3 members of Fnatic here.
And now PerkZ can play aggressive because you see mid lane being pushed into tower, you see bottom lane as well being pushed past the river. So there is pressure in the other lanes. That was the problem before. When you are split pushing, professional games, solo queue, doesn't really matter. You cannot just push past the river if your entire team is sitting behind the river. If they're like doing their own jungle, if they're back in base, you have to respect that you will get ganked and you will die and your team cannot get anything. Can't like go get Rift Herald because again they're sitting too far back on the map. But now when you have your entire setup, when all 3 lanes are pushing, you're almost holding hands across 3 lanes, very long hands on arms you have. You can then start pushing down, and you know if they're gonna gank one side with multiple members, you can get something on the other side, or move fast enough to defend and react.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Holding
basically
hands.
it.
Can we hold
So
hands?
for all you Trundamere players at home,
You guys sure you're comfortable with that now?
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, Deficio, I'll hold your hand any day when we're pushing up on the Summoner's Rift like that. Don't worry about it.
I kicked you off our team.
I know. It's fine.
You're still salty, I can hear it.
I'm not even salty.
Hey, save the salt for after the game. Come on, guys. 45 seconds.
I
on
didn't
this.
kick you, you left on your own.
You got a history of this, Deficio. Kicking people off teams. Kicked out of the LCS at the end of it. It's all right. You're here now, though. Don't
Here
worry.
we are.
Now you're on my team forever.
That is the weirdest exchange I've heard all day. Let's go back to Kikis trying to push on this bottom side because we've got Febiven trying to 1v1 with PerkZ just to pick up the farm, and yes, he's more ahead, but this Ryze is getting harder and harder to bully, and Fnatic, if they can't rely on that strategy anymore, where do they go?
I mean, that's kind of your strategy, right? You're able to shut down the Ryze when the fight starts with your CC coming in, and then the burst damage you have as well. Problem is, of course, Kindred ulti. Fantastic in combination, as you highlighted as well, Thresh, before, with the Ryze and the Kalista standing there in these fights. So when the engage do happen from Fnatic, so much about the instant burst from Lissandra, from Graves. It gets denied by not only their Kindred ulti, but also the Janna disengage. So G2 actually has a very good comp when it comes to making sure Ryze is safe in these late game fights. But knowing PerkZ, he's not going to sit back in the back line. He's probably going to be in the front.
But we're at that point now where the game is going to slow a bit. Both teams have all teleports available, and without one team overextending too far, trying to stretch too far for an objective, there really is going to be no double teleport play or no Baron attempt. I mean, it is kind of maybe the prerogative of the team that's in the lead, that being slightly Fnatic right now, of controlling the Baron area of where they were, but they've just let G2 go and take the vision control back once again.
Well, the problem for Fnatic is the 1v1 on top side, which is the lane that's obviously going to decide who gets the jungle control, where the blue buff is for Fnatic, is being lost by Lissandra. That's very natural in this matchup, that Lissandra won't be able to like kill the Ryze 1v1 or duel him 1v1. Lissandra is now much more about flanking into a team fight and creating a big pick. So you will have control there if you are G2 to push on top side. Mid lane is very even, just honestly meet the wave instantly as AD carries, and that means that deep vision should happen or should come from G2 near that blue buff, near that Baron, and give them control. But it requires them to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And then now they stopped, they went back to base, they reset, allowing Fnatic to push up.
Kikis on the chase here. Rekkles was the one right in the front, and he defensively goes for the ultimate here as Kikis right back into it. Lambs Spiders, he's backed away actually, and Trick comes back on in. Now, here we go. PerkZ around the backside. Fnatic, they do not want any part of this one. With the Monsoon on keeping G2 healthy, Fnatic are hanging on to life here, but can they take out Kikis? Not enough damage, and the big barrel wasn't enough to do it either. Looking for PerkZ. G2 just keep on tagging in, tagging out,
so
but Klaj is tagged down, and now way too many low health bars. Fnatic cannot do a thing here. Spirit looking to hunt down Kikis, but he doesn't have enough damage either, trying to stay alive through this. He might just give his life, though. That's the double kill. Over to Emperor. PerkZ on Rekkles. Trick with the spree kill, and G2 eSports clean house.
And this will probably spell the end for Fnatic, because we talked about how strong this teamfight is for G2 with the amount of disengage and the Kindred ulti. This was almost a perfect fight because Ekko early on had to use ulti defensively. Ryze came down with TP and went straight for the Gragas. So PerkZ didn't even get onto a key target. Look at the fight here. So Kikis goes in, takes a lot of damage, has the ulti, good hook by Klaj. Down in the bottom of your screen you see PerkZ. Gamsu sitting there and tanking all the damage. All the key members right now for Fnatic are able to step forward and deal some damage, but then disengage happens. You know, these prolonged team fights are really good for G2 because the Ryze will get his cooldowns back up. Also being popped here by PerkZ. Flashes straight in. Fight is now won by G2. Gives them full control of the map. And this is such an issue for Fnatic. If even a fight where the Ryze only hits your tank and you're even the one getting the engage after, you're not able to kill anyone, then I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either. I mean, so many of the ultimates were used for that team fighting. You mentioned the Ekko ult, the Kindred ultimate as well was used right after the Ekko ult. So G2, in theory, shouldn't have had their tools to be able to fight that, but they'd done enough against Fnatic. Fnatic couldn't get the right re-engage there as they were kiting up the river. And ultimately, as you said, I honestly think that now is this turning point, that without a massive mistake from G2, they should be able to systematically close this game.
Might just happen. Kikis takes a little bit more than he gives on to Febiven, but G2 eSports overall,
Gamsu
are on the edge
You're
here.
in trouble.
Gamsu throws out the cask, but there are 4 G2 eSports members there, and that won't take too much time to wear through. Trick is caught, however. Flayed back in. That is a big shutdown, though, for Rekkles. They answer back, and no ulti used by Trick. Now Fnatic are sensing their time.
Lissandra's coming.
Going around in. He's got the Frozen Tomb. Who does he put it on? Teleport now for Kikis as well. This is going to be bloody.
Not yet, Pyra.
No, he doesn't take the claw in.
Claw. You're baiting everyone.
The suspense. It was too much for me, Deficio. Spirit now goes a little too low. They turn on to PerkZ, and he's isolated. Spirit picks him up. Oh, that's big.
Kikis also jumped back to the bot lane with his ulti. He just TP'd up, realized, oh, nothing is really happening. Or maybe cancel, I don't even care. He's back in the bot lane, that's all that matters. Fnatic were looking for that one mistake. What about a Kindred who forgets to use the ulti, or maybe didn't expect a crit coming in? Fight started, Fnatic on Baron.
Why? Kikis is coming up to the Baron now. G2 cannot really contest this. I guess Emperor has damage here. Oh, they've actually contested enough to force them back off because...
Oh, they got him. Oh, the Q assess. That was quick. But look at this damage coming out. Emperor's taken down again. Fnatic, they have not been outside of top 2 since the LCS began, and it's things like this that are why.
Emperor did enough to stop the Baron for now, so G2 hold on. I was thinking, did Emperor have enough to actually come in and contest? And yes, forcing them to back away. Fnatic were too low, ever so slightly, just to be able to hold it. That allows Trick to come back up. Trick is in now position to control the vision, and G2 get a second attempt at this kind of play. But if they make that mistake again, Fnatic will come right back into it.
G2 got the kill on Gamsu, looked fine. Kindred ulti, they're not getting popped, obviously what we talked about. Those kind of mistakes you don't see very often.
No.
Next time, Trick will be a lot more careful. Use it early, you know, it's better to use it early here, just because you know you already got a kill. All you have to do is just back away from this, so Fnatic cannot chase.
We can only hope. Very few mistakes, but they have been critical this game from G2's side. 26 minutes in, it's still been a bloodbath. But only 2K separating between the two of them, and now Kikis is looking to make that more. Parallel Convergence lands onto Klaj. They turn their attention. PerkZ is looking for an angle in around the side, but Klaj is already out of this one. And the rest of Fnatic cannot react in time. Rekkles, though, there's the Lamb's Respite on. Trick was a little too low in this one. Gamsu still trying to make an in there, but it is just going to be Fnatic losing one man.
They burn the ultimate from Kindred, though, and Febi still has all of his team fighting tools.
Spirit! Oh, he's out of this one, and a quick monsoon to keep G2 healthy. Another member down, and that's the smite.
And that's one way to use a Janna to engage a fight.
Just throw her in.
Get the Kalista,
I choose
throw her
you,
in there.
And that's a kill. That's going to be Baron started, too.
Gamsu used his TP, cancelled it during that, but that's not the important thing here.
Ooh, Febiven needs a crazy ulti here, and then Rekkles with follow-up damage. They have to go in.
We've seen a few, but he doesn't choose to take this one, and the Baron is out. Febiven, with a moment of hesitation, he turns onto Kikis, however, but Kikis does not even care. Lantern, Febi is safe for now, but G2 Esports have secured Baron buff.
Good guy, Klaj, with the Lantern there, brings down Febi out of trouble, is able to keep him alive. So let's go all the way back to this. There was a moment here, perhaps, that G2 had to reconsider, but they get a good catch onto Klaj.
I'm a big fan of the way Kikis is playing, honestly, in this game, and also the last game. For him, he had that one poor game where he died in lane, but his Ekko here has been very solid. Was, of course, early picked by G2 in this game, and then used Janna.
Stolen!
G2
got it.
I mean, they just walked right in and smacked him down.
Yeah, I mean, there was no smite in that. No, Spirit smite's on cooldown.
Let's see what happened here. It is Fnatic sitting on the dragon.
Spirit wasn't in the pit. Was Spirit on... Yeah, no, Spirit was in his jungle, so he actually just used the smite on Raptors and got baited. Baited Gragas.
Even bigger for him, so movement speed boost, and they're going to use it to knock down another turret. 3.3k on that Baron buff, Baron power play, I should say. G2 now starting to look down bottom side. We've seen this pressure game before. G2 Esports, are they on the cusp of qualifying for the LCS Spring Finals and stopping Fnatic from making it for the first time ever?
They're trying to wind it up. Kikis is trying to prove to us that you can't Rekko the Ekko, and he wants to go back in for this one. Puts the parallel convergence down and backs himself away, but it's only a matter of time. Look at how big that siege minion is, just powering down this tower.
Banner of Command, Baron buff, and everything. Klaj is going to hook it in. But look, it's still hanging strong. Oh, no, it's dead. Okay.
So you can now rush straight in for this one.
Yep, that's one down. 4.2 is now the Baron power play for G2, and they've still got 1 minute and 10 on that Baron available to them. Inhibitor's going to fall. That will be the first, and this might spell the beginning of the end for Fnatic.
G2, after winning that very important mid lane fight, just been getting more and more. They got Baron, they obviously took away the Dragon. Inhibin, the bot lane is gone now, and this G2 lineup made some good adaptations during this series. With these supports being banned away, and then Fnatic feeling like they had to first pick it just to give Klaj a pick. Gave over Trick's Kindred. He's been fantastic in this game, outside of one mistake where he didn't use the ulti, but that's it. Of course, the Ryze one more time coming in.
The Ekko.
Oh no!
Febby.
Oh man, once again the repeat. Febiven is gonna throw the tomb down on himself, but he's surrounded, and Hybrid even gets the kill in this one.
You may pinch my
KDA
champion
player.
pool. Yeah, you may pinch my champion pool, but I'll get kills on Janna. Flash Qs on Janna. I've still got it, guys. Don't worry about that one. Kikis wants to go in on Spirit.
And Spirit trying to dash away. Quick draws back, but Kikis will not be stopped. Parallel convergence, just to zone, just to cut him off. Graggy's there, though. Gamsu means he's got to peel away, but that's still buying time for this middle inhibitor tower to go down. PerkZ is hooked, but he doesn't really care about it. He just flashes out of the box. And now Gamsu trying to hang firm here, but that tower is already gone.
And Rekkles has only just come back from the bottom lane. He was pushed up all the way to the river and it allowed G2 to push middle lane through. Now they've got a second inhibitor, and G2 are really starting to tear up the script on this one. They want to put Fnatic down into that third place
What's happening
game.
here? G2 suddenly winning. They're playing fantastic. Not a surprise, honestly, if we look at the entire season. Of course, they've been #1 almost since the start of this split. And they've just been getting better and better. The thing I like so much as well about this G2 lineup now is they're still stepping up. They're still getting better, and they're not choking.
Goes
Desperate fight, Trick though, instant lambs respite. This time he learns his lesson, and that will come to naught for Fnatic. And a tower taken down once again, 8-3 that they have secured. Trick needs to be able to hop this, but the rock's in the way. No, they pop him in, and Gamsu gets the credit to take him out. Hybrid thrown in by the face call. Gamsu might get equalized here. Kikis though running wild in the back. Febiven around the back, but Emperor is able to pick him off. Monsoon from Hybrid, and they're still chasing on. Fnatic, their hopes and dreams are running out right here on this stage. Emperor with the double.
Emperor with the double, PerkZ with the chase down, and G2 are closing this one out.
It's a challenger team coming into the LCS playing their first playoffs. They didn't even look nervous at all. This team here has just been performing so well.
Turns out seeding matters after all. Kikis trying to put the final nail in the coffin. 31.5 minutes in. Klaj and Rekkles, all that remains. Spirit right in there as well. The Nexus turrets are starting to fall. Is this where the script is torn to pieces? It sure looks like it. We're going to hit 32 minutes before all said and done. Kick is going in, and that is going to be Fnatic melting. The game is over. GG. The red hot rookies will knock off the reigning champs en route to a spring showdown in Rotterdam. And that was well earned.
Woo! All we hear from the players.
Oh, but Fnatic, what a rough way to go out.
Different faces we see here.
You can see how much it means to the organization. I mean, this is the first European finals that will not have Fnatic competing for first or second place. They are now in the third place game, but honestly, you've got to look at what G2 have accomplished this split. Their first split in the LCS. MVP of the split. Rookie of the split, coach of the split. Now they're in the finals. They are one best of 5 away against a tough team in Origin from putting their names on the wall on the entrance here to the LCS studios in Berlin as being the winners of a split as well.
We're going to have 2 teams in the final playing somewhat the same style. A lot of focus on fighting, you know, the individual mechanics coming in, and that's been such a big thing for G2 in this split.
Yeah.
Fnatic standing here talking about it, obviously still going to Rotterdam, playing for the third place and the championship points against H2K.
Absolutely, but the old card have been thrown down, and in their places, we will have a new king. Don't know who it is just yet, but G2 really came in and completely trashed the norms of the European LCS this split. And it has just been fantastic to see them work.
And we've said it before, we will say it again and say it fairly frequently. Almost nobody would ever have said that G2 would be in this finals. If a week 1 you said, tell me who's the final going to be, hardly anybody would say, oh, G2, yeah, G2's going to be in this.
You would never be able to explain why. It would just be a blind prediction. But the thing about G2, again, is when you look at the standings from week 1 to week 9, they've just been sitting in that top 2, and even #1 ever since like week 3. Ever since, they haven't moved. They've been consistently extremely good, lost only 3 games, 4 games now with this 1 loss to Fnatic in this series. So even though they played aggressive, even though we said maybe it can be over-aggressive from time to time, sometimes they're pushing a little bit too far, not respecting teleports. They make so many other good plays, and again, they synergize so well together when they have these fights, because every time G2 does well, it's because the games have tons of fights, and they're all so good in these team fights. Even Kikis this game on Ekko, we questioned, could he play it? Great performance from Kikis in this one.
Brought it out right at the end, and the Ryze once again went big. They just were able to outplay, outfight, and for a team that we had no idea what they were going to be like, even some roster changes, as I know you can attest to, Stress, coming into this split, this has just been, by all means, no matter what happens in Rotterdam, a massive success.
Very, very impressive for G2 as an organization. For Fnatic at this point, you got to look coming into playoffs, maybe in the last few weeks of the split. This is a pretty, I guess the final placement is actually better than a lot of people would have given them credit for. I know that's not what you'd want to hear right now as Fnatic, but certainly it's still not over. You can still play for third place, still play for the championship points in Fnatic. We're always saying this is a build towards the end of the year for Worlds. And if you can lock down those extra points, you're still well on the road.
Again, it's what HK used last year.
Yeah.
To get the second seed, get to Worlds. Obviously, didn't win any of the splits, but just managed to get enough championship points, getting third place twice.
Very
so
true.
it is very, very important for teams, but right now, obviously, all you think about is getting to play that final.
Yes.
So that's why Fnatic, of course, are so disappointed. And if you're at G2 now, you don't even say to yourself, yeah, it's great we made it so far. And you say, we're going to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
But Fnatic, I mean, in a couple of weeks, the expectation has gone from, limped into the playoffs at the number 6 seed, or just barely able to really take it away. And now they made it to the third place match, yes. And there was a lot of rough moments, a lot of weird kind of decisions in this series for them, but they still looked way stronger than we expected from them. I think that's just something that you got to encourage for them looking forward into summer. But we will talk to Pulse on stage.